are dying, and our survival depends on them. That's why 4RB's created the Pure Wave Cell, a breakthrough quantum device proven to help hives thrive, doubling colonies and boosting honey production naturally. Every jar of our Pure Wave honey fuels this mission, supporting beekeepers worldwide. Visit 4RBs.com. That's the number 4RBs.com, and use code WITF for 20% off. Save the bees! Save us all!
Where in the Folk is not and should not be viewed as a news source. Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are purely fictional, and any information discussed is purely speculative. Guest opinions are their own and do not reflect those of anyone else. Where in the Folk is not responsible for content accuracy of any stories that are told or what people do with these stories. This show is vulgar, sometimes graphic, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone, actually.
Welcome to another episode of Where in the Folk. I'm here with Steven. Cecil's missing the knot. He's on vacation. We are here to do a sort of a free-for-all video watching party episode. But before we get started, if you're out there and you're seeing this and you don't already follow us, you can follow. But I was torn on where to start tonight with the videos. I didn't bring any of the old ones, so we have like a huge old inventory that I'm hoping that TikTok doesn't delete whenever it gets bought by Mr. Ellison next month. But I got maybe I got some stuff that we can just maybe ease into this, maybe with something funny. Let me see. I got a little joke anyway that I could play.
Yeah, a joke would be a good way to start. We'll disarm them before we hit them with the hard stuff.
Yeah. Let's see.
Truck carrying Worcestershire sauce has crashed on the highway. When asked to comment on the situation, authorities said it's hard to say. Breaking news, a truck carrying...
Nobody can say Worcestershire.
Worcestershire. Worcestershire.
Worcestershire sauce.
Oh boy. Yeah, with that that's it.
Well, we could get into AI, we could get into all kinds of stuff. Let me see.
Yeah,
maybe
AI is a fascinating thing. So.
Okay, here's one that maybe ain't too crazy here. And for all those listening to audio only, this may not be the best episode for audio only, but Cecil's like 2 months behind on recording it or uploading there anyway. Let's see. All right. So this one is about John Denver. There's some stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Inside the FBI file of John Denver. This file is 33 pages long and was declassified in 1990.
To tell you the truth, I never even thought twice about John Denver's plane crash until I made that video a year ago today. And after posting that video, I had a lot of comments saying that I should look into the conspiracy surrounding his death. And I should have put John Denver on my wheel of weird celebrity backgrounds, but I respect him and his music too much. John Denver, born John Dutchendorf Jr., which I could see why he changed it, was born December 31st, 1943 in Roswell, New Mexico, where his father was a U.S. Air Force pilot 4 years prior to the famous Roswell crash. Make of that as you wish. Denver was a huge musician through the 70s and 80s, and then into the 90s, he became a political activist, more of an environmental activist. And I think it is very possible that his plane crash was not an accident. John Denver was openly critical about weather modification programs and cloud seeding, also large-scale human interference with natural systems, and also military and corporate experimentation on the environment. He viewed weather modification as ethically dangerous, poorly understood, potentially catastrophic in long-term ecological effects. And I do not think he was wrong on any of those accounts. He testified in front of U.S. congressional committees multiple times throughout the 70s through the 90s. He warned about the unintentional consequences of large-scale environmental manipulation and criticized the arrogance of us thinking we can engineer nature safely. He was also deeply involved in the United Nations Environmental Program, where he criticized humans playing God with the weather. And what's interesting that already in the 70s, the UN was talking about environmental modification as a weapon. And they spoke about it at the INMOD convention in 1977. Weather modification has never been a fringe subject. Well, to the rest of the world. It was officially acknowledged and regulated internationally. And his death in 97 came right when he was re-engaging in these conversations. He was also speaking more bluntly because he didn't have the restraint of being in the industry anymore. And what's interesting, after his death, there were a few things that were really never mentioned again. His environmental activism and any opposition to weather modification. I had never heard of it until I decided to look into it. Being brought up in the 90s, he was just portrayed as a peaceful folk singer. And there's a lot of weirdness surrounding the crash that I'm not going to get into today. So was the crash just an accident or something more sinister?
What do you think about that?
That right there is very interesting. You know, it's I can tell because I really wasn't paying attention back in the 90s. You know, I mean, I was young and getting started with a family and all that. And, you know, it hasn't been for me until probably the last 20 years that I've actually been on board with a lot of this stuff, you know, getting caught up on it. Because I mean, it simply wasn't mainstream stuff. I mean, John Denver protest, that's not something that made the evening news.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people back then. I would watch the evening news every evening. You know, Tom Brokaw, he was the guy that I grew up on. So I always watched him. And this was the type of stuff, you know, it would only get maybe a minute if it got that on the news. So, I mean, being up to speed on all that type of stuff, that was not something that I was aware of at that time. You know, but no, and probably truth be told, back then, I probably would have been kind of like, yeah, well, John's maybe just a little bit weird. And, you know, too bad he's not around today where we could have him on to talk about this.
Yeah. I agree. Back in the 90s, obviously, I don't think anybody was thinking about weather manipulation much because it was much easier to control the narrative back then without cell phones and everything.
Oh, yeah.
All you had was TV or the newspaper. But all these years later, to figure out that John Denver was against climate change because of his father's interest and the fact that his father was in Roswell and probably testing like experimental aircraft and stuff, it makes me wonder if maybe his death wasn't accidental.
Right. That always adds suspicion to it, you know, because we're aware of how many of those rock and roll groups from the 60s and 70s were tied to governmental experiments. How many of their parents, were
I don't think it's a coincidence. Yeah. It's all of them. Like it seems like every band has some tie to an agency from back then.
Right. Yeah. So that very well could have been the thing. Maybe John had access to stuff that other people didn't have. But I mean, I agree with him 100%. I really don't like the idea of some billionaire playing God.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, Crystal. We didn't know if anybody was going to show up in the comments today or not because we just decided to have this, and we were a couple minutes late too. We were trying to figure out some technical stuff on the back end.
Yeah, we were.
But we're just getting started. We just watched a John Denver video. Apparently, John Denver was tied to the intelligence agencies through his father. Yeah. We're starting out with some easy ones though before we get into like some hardcore mentally taxing stuff here. Let me see. So this next one is what's supposed to be a real live ghost.
Okay.
And this one kind of freaked me out because I don't know. I guess you could through CGI probably fake this, but I'm going to let you all watch it and you let me know what you think. Let's see.
My last video, this thing chased me away last time. It's been 2 days and that's the water. It's going to be great. Anything else in here? It's going to be a great water bill. I did not leave that on. It's nonstop. What the hell? Would you please stop? I told you I'm leaving. I gotta go through and close everything again. Every time. If you want my attention that much, you have my attention. What do you want? This thing is... Do the doors. Would you please stop this?
Okay. As he's walking out, you can see
Okay, I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna leave for another couple days.
when he turns back around, you can see a silhouette that walks across. Just wait for it.
I gotta go back for my keys. If you saw my last video,
Did you catch the silhouette at the end?
Man. So there's, yeah.
I don't know if
That's-
it's real or not. I agree, Crystal. Like it very well could be staged.
Yeah. It very well could be. I mean, and I know that I've shared this before and I don't want to burn people out with it, but I remember a time when it wasn't to this extreme. Basically what it was is I was doing some work in the kitchen and I had the back door open, had the windows open. It was just the perfect temperature outside, no AC on, no heat, no nothing required. And I had left the back door open on purpose just to, kind of let a little bit of breeze come through. And the back door kept closing. None of my kids were around it. There wasn't enough wind to make it close. After it closed the first time, I went and I opened the door again. And it's probably 3 to 5 minutes later, the door shuts again. So I go back over there and I open the door again. Well, it shuts a third time. And for whatever reason I said it. I just said out loud in a kind of a dad voice, I want the door left open. Well, when I did that, the door never did close again until I went and closed it after I got done. But it was probably a week later that my wife and my kids were gone. And I don't know, I couldn't see anything in the house, but there was a presence in the house that had me spooked up bad enough that I got my dog, Gus, and he spent the night in the bed with me. I closed the bedroom door and I didn't come back out. There was something in there that made me that uneasy.
Yeah, that's trippy. So you would probably fall in the category as a believer then, at least.
Yeah, that's, for me, that's very possible. I mean, whenever you experience something strange like it right there, it's hard to, whether somebody's set it up and they've got it all staged and they're just making a good production out of it or not. I believe that there are true events that happen like this. So whether this is legit or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced some spooky stuff, but nothing anywhere near that level where, I'd have to see it. I'd have to see it, something to believe it. Especially with so much technology and AI, and now you could have Sora do the whole. Yeah, you could have Sora make that whole video if you wanted to.
Oh yeah. This right here happened. This was probably, I'd say it was 15 years ago. Whenever that happened to me, but I mean,
no AI.
Yeah, there was no AI for me, and I know the kids were not messing with the door. So, and there wasn't that much. There really wasn't any wind that day. I mean, just a real calm day, and the door opens to the inside.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Crystal. I think you got to be kind of a semi-believer to even tune into stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we all believe, but there's certain lines on things that we're all like, eh. Like I just need to see it. Like sometimes, especially when we're talking about flat Earth and everything else. Like some of that stuff you gotta see it to believe it. Um, and that I do have a couple old world things that we could get into first. Um, since we're talking about flat Earth a little bit. So there's an old map that I saved a video on, and this one has places from, I think it's the World's Fairs. It has places that that didn't exist. And I thought it was very interesting. So I'll show you that one. Let's see.
The more we find. Here we have an image of a diploma for the American Pacific Exposition and Oriental Fair for Portland, Oregon in 1905. So 1904, they have the St. Louis World's Fair. 1 year after, we get this one in Oregon. This diploma is very interesting. As we go down to the bottom, we have a photo, and we can clearly see in the background 2 airships, both looking different. They normally don't show this form of transportation in these photos. They normally blank out the sky. But as we look up all of these countries, we see the big ones. And then we see Caucasia. Have any of us heard of a country in the 1900s named Caucasia? I personally have never heard of Caucasia, which is similar to Tartaria. All of these countries that we were never told about. But this one wasn't hundreds of years ago. This was 1905. So they are now, in my opinion, lying and telling us that Caucasia, or Caucasus, is a region that has a bunch of countries in it, including Russia, which we all know have connections to Tartaria. But let's take a look at this list again from 1905. They are already listing Russia on this map with Turkey, France, Holland, Germany, Switzerland, Italy. All of these are countries. They are not regions. I'll say it again. These are countries. Why would they then throw a region in there randomly? That doesn't make any sense. I think we are finding, in my opinion, that there is more land that we aren't being told about that was here in the 1900s. And I think Caucasia is being hidden from us right now. Welcome to episode 48 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new, welcome.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's the Caucasus Mountains. I'm familiar with that. And every time I try to research any of that, that's what you always come up with. It was in the Caucasus Mountains. Is where the first mutation occurred for people to start having blue eyes, blue, green, hazel eyes, stuff like that. That's basically where Caucasians originated from. If you listen to a lot of the official stories,
It's just so weird that it was listed on a World's Fair ticket that soon ago. We've kind of lost that in the translation of things since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is truly strange. That's how much history has actually been wiped out.
Well, it's just like the only place in the world, and we don't get along with them, but the only place in the world where there's a Tartarian museum is Russia.
Yep.
That's interesting, Larry. I'm also interested, and I'm not well versed on this, but do you ever hear anything about the Moors? There's a thought that there were, black people in America along with the indigenous Native Americans, and that they were called the Moors. There's a whole conspiracy about this. That, yeah, okay,
yeah. I don't want to say anything that's going to be wrong, but it's more of a
Yeah.
In America, it's kind of the melting pot, and everybody kind of gets grouped into one category or another. Just like most Italians, they get grouped in as white people. I mean, it's just that simple. So anybody who may look like they could be from Africa, they all get grouped in together. But actually, there were some, who were more of a red-skinned, who were probably indigenous here, kind of like the Native Americans, they would be Native Americans. Redbone is the word that comes up when they're talking about that right there, which would be the Moors. And the Moors were the ones who I believe took credit for bringing Spain out of the Stone Age and into a modern time. This is some of the stuff that I've heard, but they were also here in America as well. So, and they didn't come over. They didn't come over the way that the rest of the African Americans would have come over. They were already.
Yeah, that was one of the arguments that I always heard with some of my friends that talk about this stuff, is that the volume couldn't have been met by like ships alone. No. Which would, insinuate that there was an indigenous population as well.
Right.
Which isn't crazy. Like even when you look at, like we talked a little bit about the inconsistencies of the Columbus story.
Mm-hmm.
And like he had brought like a Hebrew translator that was used.
Yep.
Like who are they talking Hebrew to in America?
Yeah.
Like yeah.
I've got a theory on that. I don't know if you want to go into
let's hear it.
We're or not. And I'm not the first person to propose this. There's another guy named Stephen. Oh my God! I'll think of his last name here in about 15 to 30 minutes. But what's believed happened? A lot of the copper disappeared out of Michigan a long time ago, and nobody really knows who took it, or nobody admits to who took it, or they don't know who took it. But it left United States of America. And what it was, the Phoenicians, they were a seafaring people. They were better than everybody else at it. They were some of the earliest at it. And a lot of those people, what the thought is that they were brought over here to mine the copper. And another thing I recently heard is that the Cherokee actually migrated south from Michigan area. So, and they have a lot of, there's some things that it ties into Hebrew with the Cherokee, more so than other tribes.
Okay, but I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's a deeper subject. You could probably do a whole show on it. But that's what it was. That's why they brought Hebrew translators over here, is because what's believed was happening was that they were gathering up Hebrews and Moors and other people coming from the Middle East here to America to mine the copper and gather up whatever other things that they were after. And whenever the empire collapsed in Israel and it divided into two nations instead of one, they collapsed and the ships stopped coming to America and people were left here. They were trapped. Is the thought on it, But I mean, does that truly hold up or not? I can't say. I don't have that much knowledge on it.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It's Tipu Tip. Look up Tipu Tip if you want to find out about what was going on in Africa, Larry, as to why so many people came here. Yeah.
Yeah, he does have an impressive amount of knowledge, Crystal.
My wife tells me I'm full of useless knowledge.
That's how Stephen got recruited into the community.
Yeah, but Tipu Tip, he was the one who was actually, Tipputip. Yeah. He was the dude who was 7 people from over there.
Okay, so we're already knee deep into depressing topics. Let me see if no, you're good. I've got one that's semi-related to this about the emerald tablets that I thought was pretty cool. Just to get into some ancient history type stuff, Larry. Let me get this going here.
Lines of text supposedly carved on a green emerald tablet and discovered in a tomb clutched in the cold hands of Hermes Trismegistus. Every principle of Western esotericism, from alchemy to Hermeticism to Kabbalah and magic, all trace back to this text. And it's said that if you understand these 13 lines, you understand the secret of transmutation itself. This is the Emerald Tablet, also known as the Tabula Smaragdina, and it is the most important document in Western esoteric tradition. Newton obsessed over it. Medieval alchemists built their entire practices around it, and every mystery school from the Golden Dawn to the Rosicrucians treats it as sacred scripture. Now, the legend goes that it was found in a cave beneath a statue of Hermes, written in an ancient script on a plate of pure emerald. Some even say that Sarah, the wife of Abraham, discovered it, while others claim that Alexander the Great found it in Egypt, and some even attribute it to Apollonius of Tyana in the 1st century. The truth is that nobody really knows where it came from. The very earliest confirmed version appears in Arabic in the 8th century, but it may actually be far older. Even by the medieval period, it became the foundation of all European alchemy. So without further ado, here's the text, and I really want you to listen to this because these 13 lines changed everything for me. True it is, without falsehood, certain and most true. That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to accomplish the miracles of one thing. And as all things have been and arose from one by the mediation of one, so all things have their birth from this one thing by adaptation. The sun is its father, the moon its mother, the wind has carried it in its belly, the earth is its nurse. The father of all perfection in the whole world is here. Its force or power is entire if it be converted into earth. Separate thou the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross, sweetly with great industry. It ascends from the earth to the heaven, and again it descends to the earth and receives the force of things superior and inferior. By this means you shall have the glory of the whole world, and thereby all obscurity shall fly from you. Its force is above all force, for it vanquishes every subtle thing and penetrates every solid thing. So was the world created. From this are and do come admirable adaptations, whereof the means is here in this. Hence I am called Hermes Trismegistus, having the 3 parts of the philosophy of the whole world. That which I have said of the operation of the sun is accomplished and ended. And that's it, 13 lines. But these lines encode the entire operation of reality. Let me break down what they actually mean. As above, and so below. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm. What happens in the heavens happens on earth. Your inner world creates your outer world. This one line is the foundation of all magical practice. All things have their birth from this one thing. Everything you can think of comes from a single source, the one thing. Alchemists spent centuries trying to identify it. Is it consciousness? Is it a physical substance? Is it the divine itself? The tablets don't say, but that's for you to find out. The sun is its father, the moon its mother. This is the alchemical marriage. Masculine solar and feminine lunar principles unite to create the philosopher's stone. Sulfur and mercury, spirit and matter unified, all come together to create the stone. Separate the earth from fire, the subtle from gross. Also known as the alchemical process of refinement, separate spiritual essence from material dross. This is consciousness work, separating your true self from the ego and the eternal from the temporary. It ascends from earth to heaven and descends again. Circulation. Spirit descends into matter, matter ascends back to spirit. Energy moves down from source into manifestation, then returns carrying experience back up, just like the angels moving up and down on Jacob's ladder. Its force is above all force. The one thing, its ultimate power. It transmutes anything. This is what the Philosopher's Stone does. Concentrated essence that transforms whatever it touches. Even the Golden Dawn used the Emerald Tablet as core meditation. Adepts would contemplate each line, extracting layers of meaning. The tablet describes both the operation of the universe and the great work, because they're the same operation. Rosicrucians treated it as the key to alchemy. Every stage, calcination, dissolution, separation, and conjunction, maps onto the tablet's lines. And yes, Isaac Newton obsessed over it. He translated it, studied it, and spent decades on alchemical experience based on its principles. He truly believed it contained the key to transmutation. And here's why it matters. The tablet claims there's a unified theory of everything, one principle explaining spirit and matter, mind and body, above and below. And it says you too can discover this principle and use it to transmute your reality. Whether that's literal gold or consciousness transformation doesn't matter. The tablet works on both levels simultaneously because they're the same level. There is no separation between inner and outer or spiritual and physical. So yeah, the Emerald Tablet isn't just an ancient curiosity. It's the compressed wisdom of Hermeticism that every Western esoteric tradition has spent over 1,500 years unpacking. And those...
Well, yeah, that is a lot like Freemason, and that's probably where it came from.
Yeah,
Was Hermeticism.
That's you know, they claim, I don't know, they say it goes back to Egypt. They make claims that it goes to Hiram Abiff, who worked on the temple for Solomon. So you know, their claims go way back. So, and hidden knowledge is what it is, esoteric.
I mean, that plays into like Ormus and everything, like monoatomic gold.
Yeah. So I guess perhaps this was the inspiration for alchemy.
Alchemy, and I would say probably like the Kabbalion, like a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because like the Kabbalion is very similar to that, like mysticism, like religious mysticism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, some people, you know, who were possibly considered mystics in Christianity, you know, they weren't. I mean, they were truly honest, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna.
I've got one more kind of spiritual video. That guy actually does really good deep dives on old like mystic topics.
Mm-hmm.
This other one is the one I was talking about yesterday, where he talks about the archons. And I think it's it's kind of crazy, but that's what we do, right? Let me see. All right. So directly related, it's the same dude, Bladen Cudick is his name on TikTok, but
really want to learn how to get out, and do you really want to learn how to break this cycle of reincarnation?
He always puts scary music behind.
Well, the ancient Gnostics believed that when your body stops functioning, your soul immediately encounters 7 hostile cosmic rulers who will interrogate you and try to wipe your memories so that you reincarnate back into physical existence. And they recorded specific passwords and phrases to speak at each gate. But here's the twist. Memorizing the words was never the point. It was about achieving a spiritual recognition that makes the words actually work. This is the Gnostic map of the afterlife journey. And it's not mythology, it's practical instruction. The Nag Hammadi texts hidden in Egyptian caves for over 1,600 years contain detailed descriptions of what your soul encounters the moment it leaves the body, the exact phrases to speak at each gate, and more importantly, what those phrases actually mean. Here's what makes this wild. In Gnostic cosmology, it isn't about being good or bad. The Archons don't care about your ethics. They care about keeping you ignorant of who you really are. Because if you remember your true nature, that you're a fragment of the divine light itself, their power over you completely dissolves. So what actually happens? Well, the moment consciousness separates from the body, you're in the realm of the Archons, the rulers of this cosmic prison. These aren't demons exactly. They're more like cosmic bureaucrats who genuinely believe they're doing their job by maintaining the system of reincarnation. The first thing they do is try to confuse you. They'll show you your life in reverse, flooding you with emotions like guilt, regret, attachment, and desire. They want you emotionally overwhelmed because confused souls are easy to manipulate back into bodies. And then come the 7 gates. Each gate is guarded by an archon who rules over a specific planetary sphere: Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And the texts actually give you the passwords. I'm translating these from the original Coptic and Greek, obviously, but here's what they say. At the first gate, the Moon Archon controls memory and emotion. It'll trigger attachment to people you loved and places you knew. The password recorded in some texts is, I am a child of Earth and starry heaven, but my race is of heaven alone. Here, you're declaring your true origin. Mercury's Archon deals with knowledge and communication. It'll quiz you and try to trap you in its mental games. The password involves names of power, utterances like Abraxas, or declarations that you know the secret names of the rulers themselves. Venus's arcane works through desire and beauty. In order to get past, hear the text say you speak phrases affirming, I have seen the imperishable realm, acknowledging that you've experienced something beyond physical pleasure. The sun's arcane, though, is the big one. In some texts, this is Yaldabaoth himself, the chief archon who thinks he's God. He's genuinely convinced that he created everything and he demands worship. The password here is wild. You have to declare, I am you and you are I, recognizing that even this false god is made of the same divine light, even if he's ignorant of it. Mars's arcane governs aggression and conflict. The passwords here involve declarations of peace and stillness, such as, I have passed through fire and was not burned. Now, Jupiter's arcane controls ambition. It offers you spiritual advancement, higher realms, and better incarnations. The password here involves rejecting all offers, saying, I seek not what you offer, for I possess what you cannot give. Now, Saturn's arcane is the final gate, time and limitation itself. The password is simply, I am. It's the recognition of pure existence beyond all boundary. Now, here's what's crucial, and this is where most people get it completely wrong. These passwords aren't magic spells. You can't just memorize them like you're studying for a test. Instead, they're more like tuning forks. When you speak them with full recognition of what they point to, they resonate with the corresponding level of reality. But saying them without gnosis, or direct experiential knowledge of your divine nature, is like reciting poetry in a language you don't understand. It's just sounds with no power. Stick with me and think about it for a second. If the moon arcane floods you with overwhelming emotion and attachment, and you mechanically recite, I am a child of starry heaven, while you're completely identified with the emotion, it does nothing. The arcane sees right through it. But if you speak these words while actually resting in the awareness that you are not the emotion, that you're the consciousness observing the emotion, and that your true nature is prior to all feeling, then the words carry power because they're expressing lived truth. When Yaldabaoth demands worship and you say, I am you and you are I, it only works if you genuinely recognize that he's a fragment of divine light that forgot itself, and so are you, and you're both made of the same ultimate substance. You're not lying or tricking him, you're speaking truth that he can't refute because it's reality. And this just goes to show that the actual preparation that Gnostics did wasn't memorizing passwords. It was practicing gnosis while alive, direct experiential knowledge of their divine nature right now, in a body and in normal consciousness. They'd practice the phrase, I am the light, until it stopped being words and became lived experience. Not, I believe I'm the light, or the text says I am the light. I am the light, known with absolute certainty. They'd even meditate on what existed before they were born. Not to find an answer, but to rest in the awareness that exists prior to all answers. That awareness is what you are. They'd even practice dying consciously, lying down, relaxing completely, and watching thoughts slow down, all the while becoming familiar with the pure awareness underneath all experience. Because that's what you'll be after the body drops. And if you're not familiar with it now, you'll be lost then. Passwords or not. And here's the most radical part of all of this. The arcans aren't evil. They're ignorant. They genuinely don't know that they're fragments of divine light. And every soul that passes through their gates with true recognition actually helps wake them up. Your liberation contributes to the liberation of the entire cosmos. And the arcans don't just exist after the body stops. They exist now. The moon's emotional manipulation and Mercury's mental loops, Venus's attachments, and the sun's false authority, these forces are operating constantly. Life in a body is already the journey through the gates, and that's why the passwords work as practice even now. When you're overwhelmed with emotion, just pause and say, I am a child of starry heaven, while recognizing that you're the awareness watching the emotion and not the emotion itself. When someone demands your worship or obedience, recognize I am you and you are I. We're both divine light, just having different experiences. Now, once you genuinely recognize your divine nature, these arcans can't touch you. Not because the passwords protect you magically, but because there's nothing for them to grab onto. They can only manipulate identity, and you've stopped identifying with anything they can reach. So yeah, the Gnostic passwords aren't ancient words to memorize for some future moment. They're tools for practicing recognition of your divine nature right now. And when that recognition becomes more real than anything that the arcans can show you, the words finally mean what they always meant. So if you want more deep dives into Gnosticism and cosmology, make sure to like the video, drop your comments on the...
That's a lot. But we promised that we would play it. I didn't know that, Larry, about Nos. But, you know, if the people who believe in the archons like that souls are recycled and stuff, they also like there's a reason for the recycling, that that we have an energy that I think they call it loosh, where, when there's mass events that happen and our energy's put towards something, that they siphon that energy off of us as a collective.
Yeah. But I know with some of the Hindus, or not Hindus, but the Buddhists, they were, I don't know, some of them, I believe, actually had the thought that if the whole world could smile at the same time, we could really change things. It'd be such an energy that it would just change the world, stop a lot of the evil and stuff like that. So, but I don't know, that's man, it's just so much to unpack. And
I kind of think regardless of religion, like, in any religion, I think intention has power.
Yeah, it's I believe so. I mean, I think it's important, to kind of guard your words as to what you speak in your own life and what you might speak into somebody else's life. Not to be just really out in left field with this right here, but I mean, be careful about what you speak into somebody's life. Is something our words carry power.
Also be careful about what you say about yourself. Like, I hear people speak negatively about themselves all the time, and you should just like, even whenever, like, I used to be bad at, like, whenever I would get tickled at stuff, like laughing, I'd be like, that killed me. And I've had to stop myself from saying that, because I just think, words do contain power, and you should never speak negatively of yourself in any way.
Still there? Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree 100%. The Gnostics, with it seems, I believe that they believe Christianity. I think so. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think that's what it is. But I know it's a lot of it is knowledge based, is what Gnosticism is. The Gnostic Gospels and things like that. And they don't, they have a, as far as my understanding of it, I'm going to go outside and get Clarence to be quiet. he's carrying on.
That's not too bad.
Okay. But, with that right there, it's they have a different thought process than what typical Christians do. Especially those, I guess, who would be Protestant. The Protestant belief anyway, is where with Protestants, you believe, you've sinned and you repent, you ask forgiveness, you go directly to God to do that. With the Gnostics, I think with them, my understanding of it is that they really have the opinion that it doesn't matter what they do. I mean, they're already good and they're set. So I don't know. I could be 100%.
I don't know about all that. Like,
maybe not all of them believe that, but I've listened to one guy and I can't think of his name right now. I actually,
it's just a crazy belief to have.
Yeah, with some of them, that's what it is. I can't remember the guy's name. I followed him on X for a while, and I think I got somehow I logged out, and I couldn't log back into the account that I had. So, and I can't remember his name right now.
No worries. But yeah, it's a heavy topic to think that that we could be recycled or, reincarnated. We had some crazy reincarnation stories. And that stuff freaks me out, to think that, like, we could be coming back over and over again and just not remember.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I know a lot of people believe in reincarnation, and I mean, trust me, I'm not going to beat anybody because they have a different belief or a different opinion from me. But man, I would hope that I wouldn't be coming back here to do this again. It's my honest opinion.
Yeah.
It's I mean, man, the stuff that I've gone through in my life, I don't want to repeat it. A lot of it, of course I've had good times in my life as well, but there's a lot of stuff, man, I could do without.
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, the living life is a big to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That to me is like heavier than like political topics and stuff. Like when we get into spiritual conversations, sometimes like this, like I'm ready for some data centers.
Yeah. With that right there, and with some of the AI, I know you mentioned AI earlier in the show, and with a lot of that, it seems to be, with the algorithm that you put into the AI, it's what you prompt the AI to is going to reflect heavily on the answers you get from AI.
Yes.
Are you pro-Islam? Are you pro-Buddhist? Are you pro whatever? Well, the AI is going to pick up on that, and it's going to turn into an echo chamber. Is from my opinion.
It's funny you say that. So me and Rachel, we came across the same TikTok earlier, and I think they're already tweaking stuff for the sale that's about to happen. Like I'm not seeing as many conspiratorial videos or videos like what we're watching tonight. But we came across the same video, and it was a Krampus video. If somebody canceling a Krampus festival somewhere, and I was like, "Look at this," and she's like, "This is from 2 years ago," and I'm like, "No, it's not. They just posted it." And she's like, "No, in the comments, they're saying it's from 2 years ago." So we put our phones next to each other and opened the comments and was scrolling the comments, and they were completely different. I couldn't see the comments that were on her phone. She couldn't see the comments that were on my phone. So it's already like rolling, like targeting comments to like pad people's. I think it's already, how do I say this? Maybe not on a Krampus video, but let's say it was a political video. I think it's already folding comments and showing you what it thinks you want to see to pad your belief system.
Right. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Whatever your direction you're going, it's going to give you a little nudge, a little more, and a little more that way to persuade you into it.
Yes.
So that's what I've been seeing with it. It's I don't know. I mean, with books, if people can get your hands on physical copies of books, and that information won't be changed, not by AI anyway.
Yeah. So. Was reading Crystal and Larry's comments. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that right there would be the bad part. It's probably the thing to think about for me. The only thing I really have to maybe add to that with the reincarnation thing is the Adam Project. I don't know if you ever watched that. It was on Netflix. I think it was a Netflix only movie. And, but it was pretty interesting. Yeah. You should, write that one down. Watch that one sometime. The Adam Project. And in that movie, he keeps falling in love with the same girl, and it's not because they have all their old memories, but it's because there's a spark, so that's makes people familiar. But for me personally, I think my opinion has typically been that that a lot of things are passed on to us through genetics. The history of our people, whether we fully comprehend it or not, I think it's passed on through genetics. Maybe that's why sometimes we'll just have this thought that seems to come from nowhere. Stuff like that. I don't know. I may be wandering way too far off.
No, I'm here for it. I listen, any theory, nobody really knows. Like until you're dead, like nobody's gonna. You can be 99.99999% sure, but we all have to make that journey at some point.
Right. Yeah. It's so that's what I've typically thought. Is that's what that is. I mean, for me personally, of course, that's I'm biblical with things. I don't hide that from anybody. And the biggest reason is because in this right here is I received a peace that I can't explain. I can't put it into words. That's why I believe, because of that peace.
Yeah, I'm not going to hate on anybody for their beliefs on stuff unless it's like harmful. Like, you know, I'm going to shit all over Scientology every chance I get.
Yeah.
But like, if it's a peaceful religion and it, you know, the focus is like the core belief systems are useful and helpful and help people grow, like I'm never going to talk bad about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, Larry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's same thing with the chickens. And fighting roosters it's illegal in the United States. It's illegal.
I could take you somewhere to see it.
I could too. And if you have really deep pockets, you can go play with the big boys. But you don't have to teach those chickens anything. My grandfather did that. I've got a horseshoe shaped trophy that my grandfather, from a derby that he won in Orlando, Florida in 1963.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just seems, I know that they say that how they got away with it for a long time in Kentucky. They said that chickens didn't qualify as animals because they only had 2 legs. They only walk on 2 legs.
Okay.
So that was the loophole that they got out of animal abuse with. But it does seem cruel to me. It is.
Yeah. Yeah. But all you've got to do is just let them get in the same pen. It don't matter if they have gaffs on or not. They're fixing to go out.
Even if they're in the same barnyard.
Yes.
They don't even got to be penned up. They'll start fighting out in the barnyard.
Yep. And that's why people, you can't always have more than one bull in a pasture either, because they're going to push on each other and whatever else, you know. So it's
yeah. Let's see. Okay. Well, another thing I mentioned yesterday that I wanted to follow up on was there's a lady on TikTok that we've seen before. She has an opinion that the White House ballroom that they're building is actually going to have a data center underneath it to house like critical United States protected data.
Really?
So I wanted to play that just to back up that thought that I was having yesterday. Because sometimes I say these things based on things that I've seen, and you all don't always get to see why I'm thinking about these things. So it's Dre. We've watched a few of her videos before, but.
And then on December 4th, something pretty wild happened. Trump fired his ballroom architect. His name was James McCreary, and he was this classical architect who designs these beautiful churches and historic buildings, designing buildings like the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Supreme Court gift shop. I mean, say what you will about the guy, but he's got range. But alas, Trump replaced him with a different architect, a guy by the name of Shalom Baranes. When I say I went to look this man up and my jaw dropped to the floor, so a little background on him. After 9/11, when the Pentagon needed to be rebuilt and hardened against future attacks, they hired Shalom Baranes. Yeah, this man designed the post-9/11 hardening project for the Pentagon, the secure wedges, the skiffs, the bomb-resistant architecture. This was all Shalom. And skiffs, by the way, are sensitive compartment information facilities. They have electromagnetically shielded rooms for classified intelligence work and are built to survive missile attacks. And it's important you know what skiffs are because this comes back into play a little later on. And his portfolio doesn't stop there. It gets a lot more intense with DHS headquarters, Treasury building modernization, the GSA headquarters secure facility, the CISA cybersecurity headquarters that, yes, Clark Construction also built. Yeah, so these guys have rendezvoused together before. And at this point, I wanted to see if I could take a peek at what was happening on the ground. So with my last remaining week of my free Planet Labs subscription, I looked through some satellite imagery, and what I saw astounded me. And I saw that these flatbed trucks had been photographed delivering these massive steel caissons to the site. Now, from what I understand about caissons is that they are these huge cylindrical retaining structures, basically. You use them for deep underground construction. They're designed very specifically to hold back soil and water pressure whenever you're going way deep underground. so you wouldn't use them for just standard foundation. And then I saw this heavy lift crane that was like permanently anchored into a concrete pad. I mean, that seemed to be for some long duration construction involving heavy structural materials and lifts from a deep excavation pit. And all of this brought me to my next question, which is if this is actually going to be a data center, then that means they're going to need a massive amount of power because data centers consume insane amounts of electricity. So I started looking into what's been happening with DC's power infrastructure. And here is where it gets interesting. In August and September of 2025, just weeks after Trump's announced the ballroom in July, PEPCO filed emergency requests for infrastructure work near the East Wing. And this called for an emergency relocation of water infrastructure, large-scale water line modifications, and something called Champlain Substation Modernization, which I still haven't quite figured out what that means. But PEPCO's own language in the emergency filing says that there's a lack of alternative supply capacity in downtown DC. And now here's the thing about that. Downtown DC office occupancy has been declining since COVID. I mean, half the buildings are empty. In general, the commercial real estate market is shrinking, not growing. So where's this new massive power demand coming from?
I mean, that's a pretty compelling argument to me.
Yeah. So I guess that right there, they're thinking that will be, they're putting it that deep underground. I mean, once
Could
you
be
get
anything, maybe an extra bunker or
could be a bunker. It could be a data center, you know, to preserve history, kind of like Göbekli Tepe was. That was. Why would it be buried up with all these animals that don't even exist anymore unless they're showing us what the history was at that time? And then they buried it up in hopes that someday it would be uncovered. And now they've even planted trees on top of Göbekli Tepe, which is destroying it. The roots of the trees are. So I don't know. Could it be something along those lines? You know, they got the seed bank. What's that in Greenland?
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, Larry. I thought it was a little weird when they announced the ballroom. I'm like, is that really what we need to be focusing on right now? Like, we've got, you know, people hurting with everything, and maybe that's not where we need to be spending money at the moment. But
yeah, it's you know, silver. I think I didn't look at it today. Yesterday, silver closed at $67 an ounce.
That's insane.
Yeah,
it was silver. Like $20 or $30. What, a year ago?
It was still in the 20s less than 3 months ago. Still in the 20s insane. Less than 3 months ago. Gold is, I think, what, $4,300 an ounce, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. The problem that they're having with silver is a lot of people have bought silver, paper silver, you know, and
trading paper on
trading
silver
paper instead of actually having the physical stuff. And for all the demand that exists right now for silver, my understanding of it is that they can't even come close to covering all the demand.
Yeah,
to produce it.
Yeah. Well, did you hear what happened with the yen 2 days ago?
No.
So there was let me quickly pull up some information on this because I wasn't expecting to talk about it, but there was something that happened with the yen, and apparently the yen has been traded pretty under the radar, like directly related to prop and silver. And I think that let's see. I think what happened, or what they're saying is going to happen, is whatever is going on with Japanese currency. So it weakened significantly. The key event was the Bank of Japan's decision on December the 19th, raising its benchmark interest rate by 25 basis points, the highest level since 1995, to address persistent inflation. Paradoxically, the yen fell sharply afterwards, causing the governor provided no clear guidance on the timing or pace for future rate hikes, disappointing traders. Let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to pull this off the cuff.
Yeah, no, you're good. It sounds like Japan is going back to the 90s with their economy. Their economy was not good back in the 90s.
Let's see. But yeah, I can't find the exact information, but it definitely apparently the Japanese currency has been used as like a people can borrow historically at very low interest rates in Japan and then insert that money into certain US markets, and Japan is one of the bigger manufacturers of certain components that that silver's involved in.
Yeah.
So from like forecasts that I've seen is that within a year silver could be over 100.
Yeah, and what I've been hearing on that is that Samsung and Toyota are both wanting to get really big into the EV batteries, and they've was it called a zero state battery?
Yeah,
one that will last for 3 to 4 decades.
Yeah,
and it requires a lot of silver for each battery because they won't blow up and catch on fire. These new batteries that they're wanting to do, so they're really trying to corner the market and make long-term contracts on silver so they can produce this.
Well, there's also gold and silver in all of the components for a data center,
right?
And those just keep blowing up. Like I've got the next video. They really can't figure out. They can estimate, but really can't figure out how many data centers are even out there right now.
No. It's I keep seeing videos, popping up where people are going to town hall meetings, talking about the data centers are going in and how much water it's going to require, the electrical bills and stuff like that,
and they're being tricky about it too. Like they're starting to not say that they're data centers.
Yep.
And let me see. I'll play a little bit of this just to kind of underscore what we're talking about here. See.
There is no definitive public directory of data centers, no official map, no single regulator to ask, or government agency to FOIA.
So, it's been really tricky to kind of get these records because the companies don't want to disclose all of that information.
By tricky, we mean redacted records and requests denied on the grounds of trade secrets. It turns out there is one thing that most data centers need: backup generators, in case the grid fails. And anyone who wants to install a generator needs to apply for an air quality permit.
So what we set out to do was request all of the permits that are issued to data centers for those backup generators.
That meant filing public record requests for air permits in every state. They list the capacity of the generator, so we can extrapolate the power needs of the data center. They also provide clues about who owns it. Take this hotspot rapidly expanding close to Columbus, Ohio.
There are at least 164 emergency generators permitted here. This is a data center where the air permit was applied for by an LLC called Magellan Enterprises LLC. But the company has applied for a trade secrets exemption. So they were actually able to redact pretty much all the information that we wanted.
But all of the big tech giants must disclose any companies like LLCs that they own. And by digging into their official records, we managed to pull back the mask. And it turns out that the data center in Ohio,
it's not Magellan Enterprises LLC, that's actually owned by Google.
This is a task we repeated hundreds of times to build this map. It's the most comprehensive tally to date of America's exploding data center industry. Every dot is a data center large enough to need a permit for its backup generators. These are the facilities either already built or approved for construction at the end of 2024. We reached a total of 1,240 data centers. That's nearly 4 times the number in 2010. There is no definitive public directory
That's
astronomically huge compared to. I mean, that's 15 years. Like in another 15 years, that number will probably be tripled.
Yeah, we don't have that now. I mean, I know they're, but part of the plan is, to provide more electricity is making small nuclear reactors to produce electricity, really scaled down ones, for, I forget how many kilowatts they'll produce, but it's they're nowhere near the size of the nuclear reactors we have now. Which the one we have in Arkansas, it's near Russellville that I know of, and but if that's what the plan is, they're saying the small ones are safer and all of this, and I don't know, but I just, for the life of me, I don't understand what's the purpose in having all the data centers. I just don't know.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, the AI doesn't seem like at the moment that it's worth all of that. Like, I mean, we're not getting any huge benefits out of that. If anything, it's kind of hurting. And Larry, I don't know if you were able to listen in last night. We actually had a story. So NVIDIA has announced that they're going to stop making, I think it was video cards, because of the shortages on stuff, and RAM, the price of RAMs went up 400%. That's a good point. That I think that there's probably like a quantum aspect of this that is like our public ain't never going to see it.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, it's just, it's, I don't know. It's the only thing that this is making sense for is if you want to have just completely fill the whole world with this stuff.
Yeah. And
deception seems to be the goal of it.
That is a perfect segue into some of this other stuff I've got. It's anti-human.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're headed, is a non-human, because if you've got robots making everything and there's no like jobs, I mean, you're already, they estimated whenever we were doing the global control episode, over the next 10 years, there's going to be millions of people losing their jobs. Especially when they get the robots right. Once they get the robots right, we're at the beginning of the end. That's funny. I haven't seen that, but it's true.
They want you to know what they're doing to you, right? What do we need humans for? What do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
Most people will be willing to give up their privacy in exchange for much better healthcare based on 24 hours monitoring of what's happening inside their bodies.
Humans are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me, that this is my free will, that's over. The real aim of science as an project, as an establishment, is not truth, it's power. The idea of the social credit is to monetize everything, to give value to every single thing you do in life. It's a function of surveillance. It has positive potential in some regards. It could create the most totalitarian systems in history.
You would think that they would know what other people are saying and they would clean up their image a little bit, but they don't seem to care.
So that's one of them.
Yuval Noah Harari.
I mean, these people get up and say this stuff and nobody says anything. Everybody's just like, that's interesting. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. He's Yuval Noah Harari. He's made some pretty big claims. It's he's from the Middle East.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll let you guess the country.
They have much different belief systems, but poverty is a big part of this too, because if they get people in poverty, they'll be able to control them easier.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where we're headed, like with
Yeah.
inflation rates the way they are and all the markets.
Right.
I don't know if you game or not, Larry, but they're about to come out with Steam is about to come out with a console. It looks like a GameCube, and you can use it as you would a computer, but you don't have to pay a subscription. Like you just it's Steam based, so you could download all your games and not have to pay like for PlayStation Live or whatever. I'm probably going to switch to that when it comes out, because you can also use a mouse and keyboard or controller depending on what kind of game you're playing.
Yeah. But with that right there, I mean that with Yuval Noah Harari, he's been talking about this right here. With some of the other things he talks about, was just we're not humans won't be necessary in the future. And well, maybe we could just give everybody a universal basic income. Well, that's all going to be tied to are you up to date on all your vaccines? Have you been
And your anything they come out with, like any medical requirement, any requirement? Have you got your real ID number 30 or whatever?
Yep. Anything that you're not compliant with, that will be a mark against you. They're going to have this thing to the point where they control every aspect of your life.
They're already arresting people in Europe for
Yes.
posting mean things on Facebook.
Yeah, because someone said something that they thought was offensive to Muslims. I don't know. I mean, why can't we just bring back honesty? I mean, I would be really cool with that.
Well, yeah, I think it should be freedom of speech, but not consequences. Like everybody should know who hateful people are, in my opinion.
Well,
and if somebody's going to post hateful stuff on the internet, then everybody knows that they're hateful, and they may get punched at some point for being hateful. But do I think they need to be taking up taxpayer dollars in prison over calling their grandma a hag or whatever? No,
that's that right there. They've gone way, way, way too far. I mean, when they're arresting people over a meme that they might put on a social media platform, that's beyond ridiculous, in my opinion. I mean, whenever real crimes are taking place and those people are not punished at all, there's no justice left in the UK as far as I can see.
No,
it's
not at all.
And they seem to be wanting to. And that's just part of that religion. I mean, it's to come in and eventually take over, because they're gonna have more children than everybody else. So that's, by the sheer numbers, is what their plan is, to take over. So I mean, pay attention to what it is. I mean, I don't know.
I'm actually gonna speed run some poverty videos, because I did for this conversation. I saved quite a few.
Not $31,000 for a family of 4. It's closer to $140,000. Not only can the average family not afford that house anymore, but that they really can't afford the very basic components of participating in our society. That poverty line that we see from the federal government that tells us that we're all comfortably well above the poverty level is a historical residual of a world in which food at home accounted for approximately 1/3 of the total budget. Today, the price of food has collapsed. The cost of everything else, in particular housing and childcare, have exploded. That analysis running through the math of what would be required simply to meet the basic budget for a working husband, working wife, and 2 children is what led to that analysis. If we're going to fix things, we have to start having honest conversations with young families about what they need in order to survive and thrive and produce the next generation of taxpayers.
So that's saying that the poverty line is actually somewhere around like a combined income of $140,000 average, just because of how much everything has went up. But I've got some more information on, let me find the one that actually gets into the Okay. This plays into the same thing here. Just the evolution of what $100,000 is.
We are considered elites in the top 2% of household incomes. We could afford a literal mansion with our $300,000 budget, which is well above the median home price of $64,000. And since things like retirement, childcare, health insurance are minimal, after we take care of those, groceries, taxes, we have a few $1,000s left over every month. We are considered top 4% of household income. Median house price has jumped to $123,000, but that is still well below our budget. So we have a very nice 4 or 5 bedroom house in most major cities. After monthly expenses, we still have a couple $1,000s left over. We are still considered high earners in the top 8% of household income. Housing prices have increased to $170,000, but a 4-bedroom house still fits very comfortably within our budget. But the financial burden for things like retirement, childcare, healthcare are shifting more towards individuals, which means that we have about $1,500 left over every month. We're still solidly upper middle class in the top 12% of household incomes. Median house price has jumped to $220,000, so things are getting tighter. This is my dad's watch, but I like it. And we can still afford a 3 to 4 bedroom house in most major cities. And after our major monthly expenses, we have about $1,000 left over. We're still above average in the top 30% of household incomes, but the median house price is now $330,000. So our $300,000 budget isn't quite cutting it. We probably have a starter home, or we might be renting a modest 3-bedroom apartment, depending on the city. We're also spending more on things like retirement and childcare, which leaves us with under $100 left over every month. We might technically be above average, but even in the top 35% of household incomes, we're struggling. Median house price is now $420,000, and with our $300,000 budget, we're buying a fixer-upper, or we're renting something that feels too small for a family of 4. We have a leased Hyundai Santa Fe and an 8-year-old Chevy Cruze, but even covering the average costs for retirement, healthcare, groceries, childcare, subscriptions puts us well over $500 negative every month. We are considered
It's a big change. It's not your grandfather's inflation. Like, we jump from average house price of 60 something thousand just in our lifetime to $400K.
Yeah. Just since 2012.
That's the big change from like 2010 to now.
From 2012, I remember 2012, gold was fluctuating somewhere between $1,100 to $1,500 an ounce. And when people were buying gold at $1,500 an ounce, I was thinking, man, this is crazy. They're never going to come out on that.
Look at them now.
Look at it now. $4,300 an ounce. Silver in 2000, from 2006 through 2012, something like that, you could buy silver anywhere from $6 to $10 an ounce. And it closed yesterday at 67. Multiply that inflation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts. It's not, it's like I said, it's not your grandfather's inflation, like where it was gradual, like, you know, over his whole lifetime, it may have went up, you know, gas went from 40 cents a gallon to 60 cents a gallon or whatever. Like, it's astronomical, like absolutely astronomical. And I agree with some of what you're saying, Larry, but I think I'll go a step further and say it's a combo. Like, the things that they're doing to younger folks, it's also the incels. Like, you know, a 60-year-old man today has more testosterone than a 20-year-old because of everything they've done to the food.
Yep.
So I think it's a twofer.
It is. Yeah. But by the time you figure in the other stuff, I mean, the simple fact that you pointed out I don't know how many shows back it was, but you pointed out that most people who are buying their first home now are probably in their mid 30s.
Yeah.
Before they're even able to purchase their first home.
Yeah. Average home buyer age is in the 30s, I think. Let's see. What's the average first home buyer age today? Yeah, that's nuts. Because that has a lot of, it could have negative effects. Oh, as of late in the United States, as of late 2025, the median age for first-time home buyers is 40 years old, according to the National Association of Realtors.
All right.
So it just broke 40 for the first time.
Yeah. I bought my first home. I was 25, I think, when I bought my first home. A 3-bedroom brick house, 2-car garage.
Well, that's when it should be. Like, if you're going to have a family and you're ready to have a family, you know, in your 20s, you don't want to be living with your parents, like trying to, I mean, maybe you do. Like, people are doing the generational farms and stuff now, but.
Right. And the crazy thing about this right here is oil dropped to $55 a barrel. The price of oil is going down. This
says that first time home buyers now only make up 20% of all purchases, a historic low, and the median age of repeat buyers is 63.
Yeah.
So that's literally the ladder being pulled up behind them. Like I don't know. It's gonna eat it up because it's like you said, Larry. All of our houses are worth way more than what we paid for them. If we go to sell it and make that money, you're going to be dumping it into another house that ain't really worth as much as what it says it is.
Yeah. Well, how much of a role do you think derivatives have played into this?
I think all of it plays into it, like all of the trading aspects. And but I think the big bad boogeyman in all this is private equity.
Yeah.
You got, if Blackstone wasn't involved in all of the American homes for rent and propping up that piece of it, I think the housing market, I think a $300,000 house would still be $300,000 and not a $500,000.
It would be, you know, I probably didn't do my due diligence and check it all out, but it's just like with BlackRock, whenever they bought up most of the subdivision, and they bought the houses at $300,000 a piece, and then they put 2 of them on the market for $700,000 a piece. Well, that instantly increased the value of the rest of the homes in the area.
Yeah. Yep. And it's rinse and repeat. Because now, like all those Blackstone owned companies, like the rental companies, they're coming in and they're paying over asking cash for these houses. And a first time home buyer, a 20-year-old, can't compete with that. They got to have a loan and they're scrounging for 20%.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I think about the board game Monopoly. I don't know if you ever played it very much when you were a kid or not, but you could be having a good game until somebody owns Boardwalk and Park Place, because sooner or later you're going to land on it, and man, it's fixing to wipe you out every time. So, I mean that's what it is. Yeah, 60-year loans. Who's going to live long enough to pay off a 60-year loan?
I mean, it's becoming England, like where all the real estate has been bought already, and they have generational mortgages where it takes 2-3 generations to pay it off.
Yeah. Yeah, it does, you know, but here's the thing to me, you know, I can look at this right here and I can sum a lot of this up in my own mind by looking at who do we owe the money to? We're nearly $39 trillion in debt. Who do we owe that money to? The Federal Reserve. Isn't that a privately owned bank?
Yeah, it is.
It's privately owned. So they own everything. The ones who own that, they own everything else. And to me, that reminds me of the verse, what would it profit a man if he gains the whole world? And I never dreamed of a time that I could see something like this in my lifetime where maybe one family owns everything.
Yeah.
Or 13 families own everything.
We're getting close.
But we're getting down to that. That's where it's headed.
They've got more control over. So even though we have more freedom of knowledge, we know things now about the world that we could have never known, like in the 1930s, for instance.
No.
But at the same time, they now, through those same constructs, have way more control over us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that may be true, but it keeps looking more and more like, they're staging someone else to be the global power.
Yeah.
Let's see.
While you're looking at that one, just think of what was written on the Georgia Guidestones and how the goal was to reduce the world's population to 500 million people.
Yeah.
If we have 8 billion in the world right now, that means that a lot of folks who are breathing air won't be in the near future.
And speaking of which, I do have a crazy, I did bring a crazy robot video. They're getting close. It may not be to full par yet, but they're getting really close on this robot stuff.
To the index of other news tonight at another moment with one of these humanoid robots, this time kicking its CEO in a simulated face-off in China. The robot landing quite a forceful strike right here, appearing to knock the CEO of Engine AI right to the ground there. The CEO, covered in padded gear for the battle, appearing to be unharmed. The company says the moment of man versus robot was about shutting down claims that other videos of this same humanoid robot and its capabilities were just CGI. To the index of other news tonight at another moment with...
They actually did it a second time to prove that it was not CGI.
Yeah. Just like the one, if you remember, it walked so human-like, they had to deconstruct it on stage.
Yes. Yeah.
They're getting close.
All right. With the when they have robots who are doing that, look at construction, mining, farming, all aspects of it. Farming, that would include agriculture, your tree farming, the whole deal. If they have robots that can operate the machines,
all industry labor, like warehouse labor, distribution.
Yep. And it's going to get to the point to where humans are just not going to be necessary, which is one of the things that to go back to Yuval Noah Harari, when you played that clip earlier, he said humans are not going to be necessary for the future. That's
what are we all gonna do whenever robots are doing everything?
I don't know, man. I mean, that's going to be the thing. It's just like we talked about the mouse experiment.
Well, they're gonna have to have an event though, because they're not just gonna let everybody rise up after robots take everything. Yeah.
I mean, very true.
Larry, did you see that video? The one that walked so human that they had to prove that it was not human. If not, I'll dig it up and show it to you.
That was that was creepy. I mean, in the next 5 to 10 years, I really think we're going to be living in a completely different world than what we're in right now.
For sure. For sure.
It's just, I don't see any way to avoid it. You haven't seen it yet. If you can pull that one up, Toby, that's a really eye-opening video there.
Let me. It shouldn't take but a second to find it here. But yeah, I think we're headed definitely toward a different kind of hellscape than anybody's ever seen before.
Yeah,
it's crazy. We're living through the craziest time in history. We've lived through a time where cell phones didn't hardly exist, and now we've got humanoid robots like kicking the CEO down the stairs.
Yeah, yeah. I used to always wonder about it. You know, I had an uncle who was born in my grandfather was born in 1896, and I thought about all the changes that he had seen in his lifetime because he lived into 1972 or 73. And but whenever I look back on my own life now and see all the changes from whenever I was a child to what exists today, it's even more than what he experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, way more. Let me see. Humanoid robots. Robot Nightmare. I think this is it. Hang
Yeah,
on.
Robot Nightmare. That very well could be it.
No, that was the one hanging. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. If you can send the robot underwater to go do the welding on the oil rigs and stuff like that, then yeah, I mean those high-paying jobs, because it's a lot of danger involved in it. I mean, those jobs could be replaced by robots. In warehouses are full of forklifts that don't even have people operating on them. You know, they'll stop whenever they run across a human or get to a human. I've seen that on in big warehouses in the U.S. and UK. So, and there's no telling what China actually has. I mean, I figure they're the ones pushing the organoids.
They'll be the first ones to have a robotic police force if they can do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They've already got the dogs and the balls out on the street.
Yeah. You know, it's going to be I never dreamed that, you know, we covered organoids and all that was basically where they grow a human brain to put inside a robot computer, because it doesn't take near as much energy to run things with a human brain as it does all the circuit boards and everything else, the computers. But I never dreamed that RoboCop was actually a documentary. So.
Yeah. Well, and so I can't find that one, Larry. If you go to the last Conspiracy Free for All, we have the video in there. It may have got took down. A lot of these get took down between when I save them and when we can play them. Like I had one saved that I wanted to play that was about there's an AI company talking about how they can, with just a video of your grandparents, they can make an AI replica of your grandparents so that your children can have a grandparent around if your grandparents passed away.
Yeah, they animating those videos. Yeah, it's
Let's see. What do you want me to just play some random stuff? I've got one on Gaddafi. I've got EMF and autism. I've got Procter & Gamble's involvement in Crisco.
the Gaddafi video was. I would love for you to play the Gaddafi video.
Okay, yeah, we'll play that one here.
Wow.
Okay, well, if you saw it, you're probably as creeped out as we were, Larry. So this Gaddafi video, I've got it paired with one about Obama because it was during the same time. So I'll play them both. Let's see.
Most people have no idea what this man was trying to do. Still to this day, over 15, almost 20 years later, it's not in people's consciousness. They are not aware of what happened in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi. If you were to read the headlines, he was an evil psychopath who was an absolute nut job. And he was very evil. He did such mean things to his citizens, apparently. And I'm not disputing that. Like, this isn't like denial of whatever they say happened there. Apparently there's some chemicals involved in citizens and demonstrators and whatever. But listen, what is known is that Gaddafi had free healthcare, free electricity, interest-free loans. Newlyweds received 50 grand to find a new home. Mothers received $5,000 on the birth of a child. Citizens received a percentage of all oil sales and petrol, and it was 14 cents per liter. Government paid 50% of the price of your car. Unemployed Libyans received the average salary for their profession in benefits. But that's not the craziest part. Because you can do all these things and still somehow be evil, I'm sure. But what's not mentioned is the Great Man-Made River Project. You would not believe what this guy did to Libya to try to make it totally self-reliant, grow all its own food, have all of its own energy from oil, and be not indebted or, reliant on other nations for its prosperity. They went along in the middle of the freaking desert with trucks and tractors and excavators, and they tapped into and drilled into a gigantic freshwater aquifer underneath the desert. They tapped into this aquifer and brought billions of gallons of fresh, clean, pure, non-fluoridated water to the surface to try to make Libya, which was a desert country, a agricultural powerhouse, growing dates and all kinds of crazy stuff in the middle of the desert because they had an unlimited, basically, supply of water from this aquifer. The crazy part is that when NATO went in there, some people think, this is disputed though, it's a contentious issue, that they deliberately destroyed Libya's water infrastructure. And the contentious issue is that there's allegations that they used depleted uranium weaponry during the 2011 airstrikes. And apparently the justification was that the trucks that were drilling the wells looked like missile launching trucks. So there's that. Now, was this man truly an evil guy who did a bunch of horrible things? I'm not saying he didn't do anything bad in his life. I'm not saying he was perfect. Or, though, was he a threat to the establishment because he wanted to trade oil and not use the petrodollar and make his own gold-backed currency?
Yeah. Gaddafi, that to me, that right there, that's what the powers that be didn't want. They didn't want.
It was one of the last countries not on the Federal Reserve, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he had enough gold, he had enough resources that he could back whatever he was doing. I realized that he got involved in some stuff that he shouldn't have been involved in, back in the 80s,
Yeah, it's just crazy to think that NATO destroyed their water supply. Like that water infrastructure it'd still be going crazy today.
Yep. Yeah. Look at all the stuff that he was doing for his people. To me, in my view, that's respectable. If a country's going to take care of their own people in that way.
The gold-backed currency definitely was part of it, Larry.
Yes.
Like the gold and denying the Fed and all of the things that you just saw, like they don't want somebody like that.
Nope.
That's not a player.
Yep.
I'm convinced that the only reason they even let North Korea exist is he's a literal tyrant.
Yeah.
He bans hot dogs, for God's sakes.
Yeah, he's under. I've been convinced for a long time that North Korea is under the thumb of China. So
that's probably true. Well, to pair the man that did not get along with Gaddafi,
Obama, 8 years, 0 scandals. Well, besides butchering Libya, destroying Syria, increasing drone strikes by over 1,000%, unaliving a U.S. citizen with a drone, refusing to push for single-payer healthcare even with a Democratic supermajority, colluding with the DNC to sabotage the campaign of Bernie Sanders, bailing out the big banks and Wall Street after the 2008 financial crisis. He once wore a tan suit. He bombed civilians in Libya. He armed extremist groups in Syria. He expanded NSA mass surveillance. He failed to help the Flint, Michigan water crisis and even mocked them by drinking water in front of them at a speech given in Flint. Fueled Saudi Arabia's G-side in Yemen, which led to the largest cholera outbreak in history. He gave billions of dollars in weapons to the white and blue country as they launched assaults on Palestinian civilians and children. He orchestrated the 2009 coup of President Manuel Zelaya in Honduras before installing a violent far-right dictatorship. He facilitated the 2014 overthrow of the Ukrainian government. Don't you guys miss Obama? 8 years?
I think he could have kept going, but we talk about a lot of presidents. Like a lot of presidents have done like unspeakable things, and it flies under the radar.
Yes, it does. I mean, it's that's why we're kind of the opinion that once they reach to that level,
Charisma. Yeah, charisma's right. I mean, yeah, that's how that happens. That's how that happens.
Yeah, the charisma, and if you're playing ball for the right team, yeah, a lot of this stuff it's going to go unreported. It really
A
will.
normal person can't be president.
No.
We can't go out as a civilization and say we're going to elect Larry as president.
Yep.
Because they would eliminate Larry before he could get to the White House.
Yeah.
Like I fully believe that. Like any candidate that ever came forward like as an independent, because they don't want to break the violent yin and yang that's going on right now.
Yep.
They're never going to let a third party win.
No.
Ever.
No. Every now and then you'll get somebody, elected into the House that may be an independent, but other than that, I mean, it's, RFK, he had to leave his own party and he was making plans to go as an independent, and simply because he couldn't get any traction there.
That's true. But as much as he's fallen on his face currently, I'm just like, what is going on? Like, there's things happening, and I'm just like, it's not even in character. Like the other day, whenever, which again, like I respect all religions, but the Israel lobby had him on TV and was like, "This is the first Jewish president," and he's like, "Yes, the first and the second." And I'm just like, "What? Like he's not even Jewish. I don't understand it."
But at the same time, if you convert to Judaism, then you're accepted in. So that's what that is.
Maybe he did. Maybe I missed that if he did, but there's things that don't make sense. Just like the ballroom. There's, you get these people in, they preach on the campaign trail of like how they're going to make our lives better.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the bridge down the road that's been messed up for 30 years is still messed up 34 years when they get out of office. Like Cincinnati they still have the most dangerous bridge in America. And that bridge has been dangerous since I've been alive. And everybody's been elected at the state level and above have vowed to fix it. And, I don't know. I don't even know if construction started yet, but it's just stuff like that. Like that don't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. With that right there. Yeah. There are other connections, with, you can go back with Obama. He has ties to the opposite party. I don't know if we want to start that conversation now, but
behind closed doors, they all laugh and go to dinner, and it's all just show, like the hate.
Yeah. With Trump, Trump's son-in-law, he's Jared Kushner. He is Jewish, and he was the one who was behind a lot of the peace deals that were made during the first Trump presidency. And I had heard that Trump had converted to Judaism. So
maybe
Jews,
maybe that's why they're saying that then.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I think they even printed a coin in Israel referring to him as the second coming of Cyrus the Great. Which Cyrus the Great, he was the one who, after their 70 years of captivity, they were allowed to come back home, and Cyrus the Great was the one who basically funded that for him. So, there's some other stuff like with Trump. We had supposedly he had a replica of the Ark of the Covenant in Mar-a-Lago for a while. I think last year.
I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah. It's so it's. I don't know. It's the one thing I will say the Bible says for people to pray for is to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So,
yeah, well, and that's expansive. Like that's not inclusive to like one political party. That's humanity.
Yeah. So, and right now, there's turmoil around Jerusalem and Israel because, the Catholics own property there in Jerusalem. Muslims, they have control. The Jews have control over parts of it. It's that's the one thing, this tiny little country the size of Rhode Island, and it gets so much attention all the time, which was prophesied.
Yeah, it seems like it's getting worse. Like it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is.
I just got a notification that the floodlight camera went off and there's a stray cat running around outside. I have to put it some food out when we jump off. So I had one more that we'll end on. And I don't know. It's not titled, but I must have thought it was good enough to throw in here. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's relevant.
So I just watched a really great video about Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, owning McGraw-Hill, the textbook company that has a monopoly in private schools and public schools all across the U.S. But do you know who owns it now? Because that, to me, matters more in this moment. And I want you to understand who is controlling the narrative that is teaching your children right now. And I don't think you're going to like it. So if you don't know, Platinum Equity owns McGraw-Hill. They acquired them in 2021. But who owns Platinum Equity? Well, I'm going to tell you. Platinum Equity is a private equity firm that was founded and is operated out of Beverly Hills, California by Tom Gores. Now, who is Tom Gores? Where's he from? What's he all about? And why is he controlling all of the textbooks in America? Thomas Gores was born in Nazareth, Israel, and then he matriculated to Michigan, where he grew up and became a big player, billionaire in American politics and in American industry. Now, I talk a lot about private equity, but Platinum Equity is known for some horrifying investments, especially in the for-profit prison system and exploitation racket and in the education system. I want to show you how they're creating monopolies that are single-handedly driving up costs for the poorest people and the people with the least amount of leverage in America. Now, in addition to owning the Detroit Pistons, why do they all own sports teams? Why? They also own Jostens and McGraw-Hill, which have monopolies on contracts with schools everywhere in every public school system in America. You know, that company that has every photograph that's ever been taken of your child and controls it and its likeness. You know, that company that has a full-on monopoly for all class rings, all graduation materials, everything that you have to buy that has a price that's fixed, that is exploitative so poor people can't afford to graduate and have the things that everyone else can have. They own them, of course, and McGraw-Hill, which has a near monopoly on the entire school book industry in the United States. But wait, there's more, because what I want to talk about is an investment they made in a company called Securus. Now, Securus was a company that created technology to enable communication between prisoners and their families outside of for-profit prisons. And it's amazing because as soon as they acquired Securus, Securus got monopoly contracts on an entire massive prison system. And suddenly what happened was the prisoners were cut off from in-person visits. They said, we don't have in-person visits anymore. No. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to make it where you have to use these external phone systems. And that's the only way you can see your relatives. But it comes with a price. There's no more free visitation. And what happened after that is horrifying. In 2024, multiple civil rights organizations filed civil lawsuits against Securus that said that once they entered the jail system in Michigan, what happened was they hiked up the pricing on calls to families so that you were paying a minimum of $12.99 to $20.99 to see your kid for your visitation. Only prisoners don't have $12.99 to $20.99. So if you didn't have money, you didn't get to see your children or your family anymore when they could have come to visit for free in person prior to this. Now, they started charging 21 cents per minute for phone calls that were not video calls. And then they set up a kickback scheme where 50% of every one of those phone calls was getting kicked back to the county to stop people from seeing their relatives, their children, their family members, their friends. And the contract went further. It had a minimum guarantee that they would get at least $190,000 in kickbacks for the county for forcing these prisoners to use this system. Now, study after study has shown that when prisoners are given access to a strong support and family network, they are much, much more likely to actually reform themselves and do well coming out of prison later. But if you're in the for-profit prison system, you don't care about that. You want that revolving door spinning like this. And let's talk about how our education system plays a critical role in how our young people are trained to either move into success or failure and on track to a prison system. The prison and public school pipelines to prison is a well-known and established problem in the United States. It's oftentimes the way that they choose where to build for-profit prisons is looking at the third grade reading levels of people in public schools in a given area. And when they see that the reading levels are very low, they know that 15 years from now, the prison need will be higher. And that's how they choose where to build for-profit prisons. So you have to understand that controlling our education system, controlling our scholastic programs is also creating a pipeline to the prison system. And private equity has their hands in all of it. But it's also how we instill and shape public opinion from an early age. And I want to show you one of the ways that they're doing it for adults in America, because they also happen to Cision and Centerfield. Now, if you're not familiar with Cision, Cision is literally the leading technology provider for tracking and shaping PR and marketing narratives in the United States and the world. They control and track every Google reference, mention, PR, press release. They control everything that shapes public narrative and public opinion on any and every given issue. And they are also owned by Platinum Equity. I don't like coming on here and being doom and gloom. I don't like coming on here and talking about private equity constantly. It's dark, but people have to start to recognize that the entire world has become monopolized and controlled by the hands of 100 people that literally control everything we buy, everything we do, everything our children learn, everywhere that we take our kids, everything we read online, everything that happens in prison systems and foster care and everywhere in between. And if we don't wake up and start passing some referendum laws to bring an end to it, we're not going to be able to bring it back in. We have got to start making a difference and demanding more. And this is not a one-party problem. Both parties take this money. Both parties benefit financially from this entire system. Both parties leave Congress and run off to sit on boards of directors at private equity firms. Ask Kristen Sinema. She just did it again. All right. So you have to understand that these people don't serve us, but we have to start serving one another, and we can do it through passing referendum laws, getting private equity out of home ownership, getting private equity out of monopolistics, passing new regional antitrust and monopoly laws at our state level. We can make a difference, but we actually have to try. And if you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and we work together to fight private equity and save small businesses in our community. So I just watched a really great video about Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, owning McGraw-Hill.
Well, I agree with what she's saying. I think that, private equity keeps getting their hooks in. We have spoke ad nauseum about the role of private equity in a lot of the problems that we're having, from inflation to now apparently textbooks, which is crazy, and maybe that was on purpose, so that private equity doesn't have a face. It's not Robert Maxwell. It can't go down with one person. It's a monster, a consortium. But yeah, I wanted to play that and just get that out there into the ether so that people could see it. But Stephen had to step away for a sec. If you don't already follow us and you're listening, give us a follow. We are going to try to do some more shows around the holidays as we're able to. We're going to be back next Friday with all of the strange news. I'm not sure what the topic is, but I know we've got some crazy topics coming up in the next few weeks, like Scientology. We're going to talk about juggalos. That should be a fun one. And then some more places. So when we do areas of the world, it's going to be more like weird stuff, super weird stuff in the areas, like the countries that we're talking about. But yeah, that's it. Appreciate everybody hanging out, Larry, Crystal. And we will be back next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we may or may not do a Saturday show, but we'll figure it out between now and then. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, hanging out. Thanks, Larry. Until next week. Thanks everybody for watching us, because we are watching you.